as we speak now, at least 10 women hunger striking, of whom nearly all have been on since the 5th of February, so we're now talking about being in the 6th week of a hunger strike.
We think there were over 100 people sent back to Nigeria. They've been here 12 years, 15 years, 20 years, getting sent back with absolutely nothing. There were 7 mothers with children on the flight. The mothers and the children were separated the whole way to Lagos, so the children were screaming and crying and only had guards to comfort them. The mothers, including a pregnant mother, was handcuffed in the flight. When they went to the toilet, the doors were kept open. Said it sounded like, a flight to hell, basically.
There are 3 women who are in Holloway prison. They've committed no crime, they've not been charged with anything, and yet they're being kept in prisons. The same is true for the 2 women who are being held in Bronzefield. They're just isolating and dispersing women because they know that steadily and surely the evidence about what happened on the 8th of February is being gathered by the legal teams. There is a stand to be taken and a principle to be fought for, and that principle is the right to an independent investigation and a moratorium on all the removals. So they're not deporting evidence that people have, but they're looking into properly what really happened.
We were helping a woman who's a victim of domestic violence in Nigeria. She was raped by her father, and then he arranged a marriage, and she was raped by her quote husband and held prisoner for 2 years. We helped her claim asylum in Yarl, but her case was put in the fast track. The fast track is meant to be reserved for cases that are meant to be straightforward, but somebody like that should never have been put in the fast track. She was suffering from nightmares, very ill and fragile from these horrific experiences. Basically, she didn't have a lawyer at her appeal hearing. She was completely disbelieved, as did the judge. Just rubber-stamped the Home Office decision. The Home Office didn't even look at their own country information about the lack of state protection for victims of domestic violence in Nigeria, that rape in marriage is not a crime, that arranged marriage is something that exists and that women can't get protection from. But yesterday, women in Yarl rang us to say she'd been taken and that she was being put on the charter flight back to Nigeria last night. We did everything we could to try and stop her flight. We tried to get a barrister and lawyers to go and get an injunction, and in the end, out of desperation, we went to the court ourselves and tried to argue. The judge did ring us back at 7:15 and the flight was at past. But basically, because she had been completely disbelieved by the tribunal, he said there was nothing he could do. It's another example of how the fast track just completely steals women's rights to be able to pursue an asylum claim, and more women are just being put off from even claiming asylum because rightfully they fear that instead of getting protection, they're just going to be sent straight to prison and back to the violence they fled.